Hey everyone, welcome back. In this episode I'm going to show you how I replaced this rusty rail, the front skirt area, and remade the pillar section for Richys R100. So let's get to it. So I'm going to get started on this nose repair here. I should be able to keep all this existing inner skin, should be able to get that all straight, and I should be able to section this from around here, try and keep this as much attached as I can, and pull it all back out, and probably actually join through here, just put a section in it. It's too far crumpled to attempt to repair that. Unfortunately I cut up the car that I used as donor pieces for this probably 2 weeks before I actually got this job, so I turned the whole front into something I hung off my wall, and it had all this area perfect, so I could have actually unpicked this whole area, but yeah, that's just not how the way things work. But I do have rail sections from this because it was a piston car, so I have majority of the rail that I can unpick the actual cradle mounts and stuff, so that's good. So a little bit pressed for room at the moment, so I've got my car stacked and it blocks a hell of a lot of light, so it's not in the best position for lighting on this side, but I'm still going to jack it up, put it on stands here so I can do the rail in this front repair. Ideally I would like to move it where this Cosmo is, but I just haven't got the strength in my arms at the moment to be pushing and pulling cars. This one is really hard to move. So unpicked the front half, barely hanging on, so I'll straighten all that out and figure out where I can join into. Also got to tap this area back out, and I should have access to neaten all this area back up. So a lot of damage hiding under the grille mount as well, bunched up there, needs to be shrunk down. But front rad support area is pretty much all straightened up now. You can tell how bent it was. Where's that bolt? I pulled a bolt out of there for the headlight. You can tell how much of a hit it's had when it's bent the whole bolt. This one's bent as well, but I'll focus on getting this damage out, and then hammer and dolly all this area up, dress this all up, and then you can start putting this piece back on, which I've straightened the majority of. Start getting that back sitting in the right spot again. So this area here is not meant to have a gap. As you can see, red spot sits on there nice and flush, so if you've got a gap from the crash damage, just put some bulk in there, that's fine. Fucking hell. Alrighty, so all dressed up in this top area. This infill piece is now on. This front piece of the rad support is all straightened back out and held in place with some bolts. So I'm pretty much ready to cut in and add some tacks just to stitch that area together, and I'll pull that whole section off, punish that up all nice. But we're on track here, it's fitting good, back to where it should be. And I just got that little bracket to go on, it's just all mangled, so I'll match that to the other side and should be good. So got some tacks on there, just double check that it still is going to fit. Happy days. Alrighty, so that's welded together. I gave the inside a prime, and just any overlapping areas got weld through on them. Same as this side. Any overlapping areas got weld through. So let's give it a test fit. That's fitting good. So final test fit now. Just got one little thing to slit, one little slit to weld up here, and I've just got to mark this area here and cut it in, and that way that's all butted up. But very happy with how everything else is fitting. So pull it back off now, cut that piece, weld that little slit up, and should be happy days. Alrighty, so all sorted, and I was going to start on the rail, but I'm just going to do that when it's on the hoist. I feel like it's just stupid to be trying to do any of that at this height, so I'm probably going to move to, got few little patches here. Someone's made a mess here, they've unpicked the pillar, gone to the effort of unpicking this pillar to bash this out so haggardly. So Jesus, I don't know what I'm going to do there. I have to assess it. Same as this roof corner, the roof is in absolutely terrible shape. Sandblaster has made the biggest mess of it. Another joyous thing, so I will leave that for a second, but there's a few little patches just to make and put on here. I don't know why they dug the lead out. They dug half the lead out and then welded it, so it's very strange what's even going on here. Maybe it cracked the lead in the crash, I'm not sure. But I'm just going to make this little section here. So for something like this, I'll just make the initial fold with the press brake, and then I'm going to have to stretch this area here to bring it down. So once that area ramps down, then I can tip this edge here and do this little piece. So start off like this, and I'll go take it to the pull max and give it a stretch. And what's happening there is it's hitting on this contact patch here, so it's spreading just that area apart, which in turn is going to pull that down, because once this area gets bigger, it forces this area down. So that's probably like a minute and a half of stretch on there. Should be pulling it over pretty far now. So it started to get the arc of it, but obviously needs to come a ramp it right down at the very start here. Right, so I've got the basic shape there now. It's got to add the second line in. So it just goes from like 25 to a 35 taper. So just mark that on the back side and bead roll it in. And I'm obviously only going to just do a patch here in this corner, and I'll probably join it just under this line. I can get access a little bit in there, but not too much. I just use tape, seems more consistent than trying to mark the line, and just tipping wheel soft lower, and it should get me there. So first pass puts a faint line in there, and depending on what line you're trying to recreate, sometimes it's alright with this one, but sometimes it's better with a really sharp wheel. Just depends on what line you're trying to do. That one's not too sharp, it's a pretty faint round off, so we'll just tip it over probably 2 more passes and it should be sweet. It's sitting okay, but it needs this edge here just to be shrunk a little bit to pull it inwards, and same deal here, this area needs to be stretched out. It will let it lay into the roof then. It depends where you're going with the patch. Me, I'm not going to use that top flange there. I'm only going to be joining halfway down, so I can cut that off. And I only really want a small piece of this, but I thought I may as well get rid of that ugly join they've done there because it's really caved in. I thought, well, you may as well get rid of that while you're there, may as well dig this lead out. So I'm under the impression the lead was disturbed here because they were looking to unpick this top here when they wanted to get access to this area to bash it back out, and they probably buzzed the lead off and realised it's not a stepped joint, that they could just take this pillar off from the outside, and then they abandoned that idea and decided just to cut the inner skin off to get access. So that's what I think's happened there anyway. Just a little bit of hammer and dolly work, and it's ready to weld in. So the inner layer is crusty as well, so at least I have some access. I can get up in there with like a spoon, same as through this little hole here. So figure the outside layer is no fuss, but just to get to this inner, at least I got access. But after looking a bit further, it's split here and here, and it's obviously in rough shape, and they've just bogged the life out of this lower corner, so there's bodgy shit happening under here. So I'm just going to ask him what he wants to do here. It'd be nicer just to remake this outer pillar skin while we're here, that way we can address this shit as well. And obviously the underside is pretty sad as well, so I'm going to have to do a rain gutter patch as well. So pretty nasty areas. Yeah, wow, so once we actually have a good look at what the pillar's meant to look like, it's meant to be flat and nice here, and as we can see on this side, it's really out of shape. It's all twisted in, it's caved in, split. So I think we just remake that pillar. It's just a bit too junk. So unpick this rain gutter, which has obviously already been off before. I can see aftermarket plugs. So yeah, get to this area, which is all pitted and junk anyway, so that whole pillar section is going to be remade. Yeah, you could argue and say, oh, just a little patch, but the surrounding areas are all rusted, so once water or any moisture gets on that again, it's all over. And this area would have to be bogged out like 10 mil just to be on the same plane, so it's just nasty. We'll just remake it. So yeah, little tiny pinhole here can create all this mess, which travels down, makes this mess, and then once water's in there, it rots your whole lower quarter out. So it just pays to get on top of rust very early, because we've got rust under here as well. So this whole gutter's got to come off probably here to remake it. I've already got the tooling to add this little outside fold onto the rain gutters. Made that years ago. 200% chance of it being brown as shit like this under this, where they've already had it off before. And there you go, prime example of why we unpick junk, because that is just a future problem. Imagine spending all the money and painting the car and it's all nice, and then this starts to rear its ugly little head. Here we can see the pillar is actually fractured from them pushing it back out, and it's wobbly little repairs they've done here. This is just bog straight over bare metal, that's why it's not chunking straight off, and they use that to fill the gap because the pillar was out of shape, so they just bog the gap to suit, same as what they did under the rad support. So it's just bodgy and lazy, but got to remember these cars are worth like $2 grand back in the day, so who knows when the repair was done. So just using paper to give me a rough template of the overall sheet size I'm going to need to use, and I'll actually measure off the other side and mark all my points much more accurately than this, because this pillar's all banged around and junk. So I've got my lines marked out now. I've got like a 25 to 20 taper, I've got 30 from here to here, and 20 at this end. So get those tipped in now on the bead roller. So just tipping wheel on the bead roller. So that's like 3 of the folds sorted. I just ran the kick shrinker on this edge here to give the pillar the right arc, and now I'm ready to tip this flange here onto it. It's going to be one of those things where you got to be strategic with your folds and not back yourself into a corner where you actually can't tip it. That's where I'm at the moment. It's nearly folded on that side, and just had a quick look at the time. It's 6:15, so time got away from me here. I didn't realise the time, so I'll stop here and I'll jump back on in the morning. Alrighty, so back into it in the morning, and it's just this bottom corner that needs a lot more stretch happening, and I can only do these 3 folds because I won't be able to do this one because it'll be too big to overlap itself. So that one's an easy and consistent 43mm fold, nothing hard. I've already got it marked, so pretty much just got to focus on getting this to sit nice, and then it should be sweet. So as I've got this edge clamped, I'm using these two to start pulling it around, and it's showing me how much extra material there is there. So it's just wanting to bunch up right in the center there, so that'll be a problem. I have to shrink that until that's dead flat, and then once that area is flat there, I can trim this back a bit more up this edge where it's clashing. So give that a trim, give that a shrink, get that area nice on the same plane, and then this is going to have to be started to be stretched out to give that reverse sweep, and maybe even tip that little edge there. I don't know, I might leave that edge alone, we'll see. And because this fold is locked out on the bead roller, it's just, I can't actually get in there. It's just past the flat point of here, so the die won't get into there. It's got to manually hit it over this die and then run that the whole way along. So switch tooling just to hit the face a bit more. Just give it a once over everywhere, so go see how it fits. Okay, so it's naturally sitting. Just needs to measure this piece now and start tipping this flange, so I've got to trim it back a little bit. So it's good just to routinely check as you're going and make sure you're not going too far off track. And all your pieces of your puzzle are fitting together. I think the hardest part of the challenge of getting shit in one piece is just the strategic use of tooling. Whatever you've got, just try and use it. So pretty much holding the dolly against that edge with this hand, and I'm going to sit the dolly on the edge of the table and sharpen that edge up. So it's all so strategic. There's so many different ways you can do it. There's no set in stone way, but there'll be a time where you'll make something like this, and then someone else will do something and you'll be like, oh wow, I wish I did that way. It would have saved so much time, or would have been so much easier. But you don't know when you're just winging it and you're just trying to get it in one piece. Sometimes you have a win. Once you start tipping this flange, it unlocks the piece. The shape doesn't clash into the bead roller anymore. So it used to hit on the top edge here. So now it's unlocked, you being able to run over that again and spin it around, do this side. So you can run all those edges again now without clashing. So pretty confident on the shape now that it's going to fit. It's not letting me overlap it anymore because it's too tight, but I know that I can unpick the underside now and get rid of all this mess. Just got to brace the roof up first, so I'll put probably a brace, probably a post from here to here just to hold the roof. After digging all the lead out, have a look at the state of the joint. Jesus, so bodgy. Right, so unpicked this outer junk and it's not nice on the inside. So let's go remake this top corner now before I unpick that section and lower as well. Right, so I've just got a few screws and clamps holding the pillar piece in now while I get some reference holes. And I've got to fold this last final little turnover that the guard meets up to and then cut it in to there. But this piece is next in line. So that's for the roof. I've got my the inner piece made as well, so the inner's got to go up in there under the pillar. So the inner piece just going in here. Alrighty, so clamped and screwed in place for the pillar, and I've got the outer of the roof just clecoed in place, butted up, and I'm going to chuck the door on now just so that I can 200% make sure my gap's perfect, and then make this rain gutter piece, and then put the tooling in the Pullmax just to give it that little end divot. It's hard to see on camera. It's got like a little divot on the end of the 90. Jeez, it won't focus, will it? So I got this replacement door and I've noticed the door frame is extremely twisted, so I guess I'm going to have to put the damaged door on because this door doesn't even want to shut. So the door frame's hitting and it's not even coming close. I guess I'll put the damaged door back on and see what that's like. Yeah, door frame's way straighter on this. It's just got some massive cave in, but it'll probably serve a better reference point. Seems this door catch idea was a really stupid thing for them to make. They all seem to be pulled out completely. Every door, this one's the same. Put the damaged door back on. Shuts exactly where it should be. Frame is nice everywhere. So yeah, the other door must just have a really bent or twisted frame. So it's 3:30 on a Friday, I'm out of TIG gas and I've got no more sheet to make the rain gutter piece, so I'm just going to hold out until tomorrow, go grab some sheet and battle on. So here's the old pillar, really pitted, split in the middle where they've bashed the damage out of it, and yeah, pretty much just like blow throughs and all kinds of shit going on under there. So fresh pillar is made, and top of the roof section I've just got to make the rain gutter piece, which is this that goes on the outside of it, and got all this area repaired all top of here. So ready to attack the rail once it goes on the hoist. So back to it Monday morning, and I want to make this rain gutter piece. It goes end to end. So to do that, I've just got a simple fold on this piece. It's a 10mm lip, and it's going to need to be made the same curve inwards, and I'm also going to have to bend it around here. So in order to do that, it's just going to be a matter of stretching this edge to bring it around, and then shrinking this side here to pull it inwards. So I have to add the little indent. There's a little indent here, very hard to see, on the end of rain gutters, it's not just a flat fold, it's got like a little divot down. And I'll show you the tooling that I've made to replicate that. So there's the rain gutter tooling there, which divots that in. And that matches. So it gives me that indent for the rain gutter, which is, can't actually get it up in there, that gives me that. So now I've got to match this curve here for the top of the roof, and I've actually got to shrink this side here to let the bottom of the screen pull inwards. So this is working in reverse obviously, because I'll be doing it on this side. It's just a comparison to show you. To get the stretch in that area there, using the linear dies. I film it in real time because it's hard to get the tripod at this height. So when I'm squashing this down, it's going to curve around. Just a quick test back on the car, make sure I'm heading in the right direction where we've marked it. So front half is alright, so continue to stretch back half of where I've marked. So with the top half sorted, we've got to work on the bottom and shrink that outer edge, and it will wrap it inwards towards the car, because we're working the opposite way. So I know my gap's got to be that much. So sitting it on this side, we know we've got to pull that bottom inwards towards the inside of the car, otherwise it's just going to make this area clash here. This area needs to sit flat, so once that sits flat we're hanging off a lot. Alright, so I use the kick shrinker to get this area done. It's so dark here because I got my car blocking the light. Alrighty, so I'm happy with that, it matches both ends. So ready to, I think I've just got to tap the lip over a smidge more, just roll it over a touch, and then it's ready to fit onto the other side. Now all the puzzle pieces are made except for this layer here, so I've just got to do one little section on this very inner layer, which is the fourth layer, and that's it. So that last little puzzle piece for in there. Alright, so that patch is in, that patch is in, so ready for this outer of the roof to go on. Just got to extend the triangle a little bit. Okay, so that's the majority of the joins are sanded now. So I've got to go along, do the rest of this, and then do all my plugs on front and back. So all the plugs down here to do, and I got the rest of this little join here. So then I got the rain gutter as well to go. And that'll be about there, I think. Once it gets spotted on. It'll sit about the same spot as this, except this is curled over. So I've got to curl this side over. So rain gutter is all pre-drilled. I'm just going to give it a curve while it's off the car. I was going to do it while it's on, but I'm just going to do it while it's off the car, see how it reacts in a few spots. Sweet, so pre-drilled, the curve's added, and it's ready to start fitting. So clamped in place, ready to start doing all the plugs. And to give it the rest of the curve the whole way, I've just got the dolly underneath and then just striking the top face with a hammer until it rolls over. So to get the curve to progress even further, you just get on the edge and squash it gradually along the whole way until it curves around and matches the other side. And I'll gradually dress it up to finish it. But if you squeeze it too far, I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't leave it off the top of the roof. I'd twist the hammer in this little gap here, and that will pry it back up. So if you leave it on the roof, you're just going to dent that, and then you've got no access to get that back out. Alternatively, you can use a little slide hammer and just bump that edge back out, but it's so easy to just tweak it just by giving it a little twist. Alright, Alright, so all welded, just got to get to grinding all the plugs now. So there's the pillar, all finished up, welded inside and out. Caps up good, happy days. Now that's not my join, that's the original metal, all fatigued, so I think I can get that from the bottom side. I might give it a go to get rid of that area. Alrighty, so all sanded up and gave it a coat of phosphate, so that's all done inside and out. Happy days. So if I move on to the sill from here, just a comparison, so we know they're the same. And as for the inside, there's no need to replace the piece that was put back in, just gave the welds a bit of a tidy up. This just gets like spray foam and trim put over it. So just put on jack stands so I can strip out the crossmember and all the steering so I can get access to that rail to repair the rail. And I was going to put it on the hoist, but then the hoist arms get in the way of the sill and it's just a pain in the ass to pull it back off the hoist just to do the sill and the floors and stuff, so I'll just do it on the ground. Alrighty, so here's a closer look at the rail. So rotted. So my plan of attack with the rail, because I've only got that much of the section, I've only got just past this caster bracket, is to unpick the caster bracket and I'm going to join in the middle of it. That way this whole section overlaps it, both sides. This top skin is going to stay. I'm going to replace the crossmember bolts because they're rotted out completely. And I'm going to leave the original steering box bolts in the car, like the tubes. Unpick this outer skin from it, and I'm going to replace this around here as much as I have up to, because there's another skin on the inside there that'll back it up, so you'll be able to at least stagger all the joins and it should be sweet. In a perfect world I would have an entire rail and put the whole rail on there, but I don't, so just got to make do with what I got. To unpick, I'll be destroying this side and not touching the inner, so I don't want to drill right through. But when I unpick the donor, I can drill right through because then I've got all my plug holes to go back on, but I don't want to touch the inner two skins on this side. So with the outside it'll be the same. I'm going to leave these original steering box bolts on there and do a staggered join here, so the other side is joined there and on this side it's going to be joined here. So I won't use this section, but I'll use this front half here to replace all the rot and the crossmember bolts, and then that'll be joined under this caster bracket here. Well, that's first initial process anyway, but I do have up to the firewall, so if I unpick it and the inside layers are too rotted around this box area, then I can join it up here. So we'll see. I'd rather assess it once it's all off, but that's my plan of attack. As for bracing, in a perfect world I'd have it on a chassis table, but I'm going to just have it on the ground, and that way I'll just box it to the ground, and that way it'll stop it from dropping and lifting up, and just put a diagonal piece from any bolt holes like these or these across to the other rail. Stops it from at least pulling outwards and lifting up or down. Even though all this surrounding sheet metal should actually hold it all together, it's just better to be safe than sorry. These cars are made of cheese, really lean on them and they just bend. So I just cut a little inspection hole just to have a look, and it looks like the top pretty much is affected as well, so I might end up using the whole thing. It's pretty pitted both sides, just the epoxy that's hiding it, so I might even just use the top half as well and actually unpick from the skirt instead and use the whole rail and then stagger it. Alright, so the rail is unpicked and I'm ready to cut it and just give it a rough cut here so I figure out where I actually want to cut to. I just got to unpick the bracket backwards off this and destroy this side and keep this side. Alright, so just doing all my marking out now before I trim this rail to suit, and I'm going to do a double stagger. I could do just a butt join there, even it's getting capped, but I just like the extra peace of mind, so I'm going to get rid of this section here and I'll keep this outer edge. That way it's staggered along there, spots to the original piece here, then there's a join along there and then comes along behind, so just makes it that much better really than just doing a butt join on there. That is nasty inside there. Now if you're lucky, you can get some spots that actually do line up factory spot welds, so you can reference yourself off those as well as your own measurements. Notice it was a little bit pitted there, and then I peeled it back and I noticed it was actually swelling up between the inner cap and the outer, so I just cut that area out, replaced both layers, and now it's sweet. And my little inside pieces, which will be in there and will be spotted either side, so that the rail can actually slip in to something. It's not just relying on the butt weld itself, it's going to have like a little infill behind it. Alrighty, so all prepped and ready to sit the rail in and give it a weld up. I did notice that this side's missing the bracket, it's been cut off for whatever reason, so I might unpick it from the old rail. Got one spare, so I might just drill that out and put that on there. There's also a brake hose that's been welded on, but I don't think that's factory. I think someone's put that on there. I'll check on my mate's R100 though. So that's sitting in place now with a few clamps. Just slot that piece back up in there. And yeah, it's fitting good. Alright, so that's all welded and sanded up. Just going to hit it with the Orbi now. Probably just an 80 grit on the Orbi. It makes a massive mess grinding MIG plugs. Alright, so that's what it looks like with the 80 on the Whizzer. So I might just give it a wire wheel just to get rid of all the burnt blackness around this area. So I've attempted to wire wheel the rust off, but it's just not as effective as if you were to blast it. It ends up too smooth. I think if you blast it, it really gets in there, gives the epoxy something to etch to. So I'll just get him to get these areas that have been repaired just quickly dusted over and epoxied the same. So yeah, I'm going to wrap things up here. Richie's just chopped past now and he's really stoked with the progress, so that's what you want to hear. Happy with everything. So I'm going to jump onto this sill area next and do some floor pan areas. And he's dropped off a bunch of parts now, so I do have the boot hinges, so I can have my third attempt at the boot lid. I'm not happy with this one, so I'm going to do another one. He's dropped off some guards and stuff. They do need a bit of love here and there, and a brand new bar as well, so you can start fitting some panels up to it and getting it all gapped up. So we're going to do lower quarter, inner and outer here, and a piece on the arch, a few little niggly bits here and there, but yeah, I'll save that for another episode and I'll keep ripping on it. I have done a good chunk of the Cosmo, so that's to be posted shortly as well. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys then.